The Demon Slayer mark is a mysterious marking that resembles a birthmark or a scar that can be awakened by Demon Slayers in order to gain superhuman abilities. The effects of the mark are so great that it can make Demon Slayers to rival the upper-ranked demons of the 12 Kizuki. Throughout the series, only 10 characters managed to awaken the mark, and one of them is not even a Demon Slayer. Today we're going to talk about the origin of the Demon Slayer mark, how it works, and explain every character who was able to awaken it. So let's get into it. Much like Jujutsu Kaisen had the golden age of Jujutsu, there was once a golden age of Demon Slayers during the Sengoku era. The origin of the mark goes back to when the progenitor of the first ever breathing style, Yoriichi Tsugikuni, was born. Yoriichi is by far the strongest Demon Slayer to have ever existed, and unlike other Demon Slayers who must meet certain conditions to unlock the mark, Yoriichi was born with it due to unknown reasons. Upon joining the Demon Slayer Corps, Yoriichi spread the mark to all the other swordsmen in the organization. This is because when a person bearing the mark appears, it starts spreading to the others around him as if they're resonating. So all the Hashira of that time were able to manifest the mark, and I guess this is why this era is called the Golden Age of Demon Slayers. So what are the requirements to unlock the mark? For Demon Slayers to awaken their mark, they have to survive extremely life-threatening conditions, like a heart rate of over 200 beats per minute and a body temperature of over 39 degrees Celsius. To put it in perspective for my fellow Americans, that's 102 degrees Fahrenheit. However, even if a Demon Slayer survives these conditions, they won't be able to unlock the mark unless they're in contact with someone who possesses the mark or has been marked before. And it's important to note that simply awakening the mark once doesn't mean you will have it forever. In fact, most of the Demon Slayer marks we've seen disappeared along with their effects after a period of time, and a Demon Slayer can only reactivate the mark by hitting the predetermined conditions again. However, there are ways to maintain the marked state and prevent it from disappearing. This is achieved through some serious and brutal training, or when a Demon Slayer is born with it. Once the mark is manifested, it grants the bearer 4 exceptionally powerful abilities. The first thing it does is it enhances the overall physical capabilities and breathing techniques of the bearer. The physical strength and speed of the marked Demon Slayer is increased to the point where they are able to rival and overpower the Upper Moon demons. It's implied that the bearer's arm strength is increased by around 100 times after awakening the mark. The second ability the mark grants the bearer is shiny red nichirin blades. These bright red blades have the ability to generate intense heat that can slow down the regeneration of demons, even that of the upper ranks and the Demon King Muzan himself. There are different ways to activate this ability. However, the most common one is when 2 marked individuals clash their weapons into each other. It can also be achieved when a marked Demon Slayer grips his blade with tremendous force, or you could get lucky and have a demon sister who does the job for you. Another ability the mark grants the bearer is access to the transparent world, allowing them to perceive the bodies of others as if their skin was transparent, so they can track the blood flow, breathing, muscular contractions, and joint movements of their opponent, which can be used to predict their movements and dodge their attacks much easier. Accessing the transparent world also gives them the ability to perceive the world in slow motion, which further increases their reactions and speed. And this is huge because demons, especially the upper ranks, are faster than Demon Slayers in most cases. The last ability granted by the mark is enhanced resistance against Muzan's demon-creating blood. This means if Muzan was to transform a marked individual into a demon, he would need substantially more blood to do so. Total concentration breathing also helps in this and increases resistance to Muzan's blood. So when a marked Demon Slayer also has access to total concentration breathing, transforming them into a demon could be really challenging. And while all these abilities are great, awakening the Demon Slayer mark comes with a significant cost. In exchange for the increased power, the mark shortens the lifespan of its bearers, and all marked individuals are said to die before reaching the age of 25. It's kinda similar to Ymir's curse for the Titan Shifters in Attack on Titan. However, there are some marked individuals who managed to cheat the curse of the mark and survived even after turning 25, but more on that later in this video. Throughout the series, we've seen 10 marked individuals, and each character possesses a unique design to their mark, which is based on the breathing style that they use. The mark can appear anywhere on the body, though it commonly appears on the face. It's very similar to demon crests like Daki's flower markings, or the 3 dots on Gyoko's forehead. We will talk about how each character got the mark chronologically, and what powers they gained through awakening it. The first one is of course none other than the GOAT himself, Yoriichi Tsugikuni. Like we mentioned earlier, unlike other demon slayers who have to train really hard to attain the mark, Yoriichi was just born with it. He is also one of the few characters who managed to defy the curse of the mark mark and lived for about 85 years. It's a complete mystery why he was immune to the curse, but it's probably because he was the first person ever to have the mark. The mark granted Yoriichi access to the transparent world from the first day he was born, and he could use it with incredible proficiency even when he was still very young. The mark also gave him the ability to dye his nichirin blade bright red at will without the need of clashing it into another weapon or gripping it with a lot of force. During his encounter against Muzan, Yoriichi was able to see through his body by using the transparent world, which allowed him to find his weaknesses instantly. Then he used his red nichirin blade to cut him into pieces with one blow, which significantly hampered Muzan's regeneration ability. Yoriichi's red blade was so powerful that it burned the Demon King at cellular level and left permanent scars on his body. Next marked Demon Slayer is Yoriichi's twin brother, Michikatsu Tsugikuni, aka Kokushibo. Much like his brother, Michikatsu also joined the Demon Slayer Corps, and he was able to awaken his mark while training under Yoriichi. He is also one of the very few marked individuals who managed to survive after the age of 25. However, he achieved this by accepting Muzan's offer to become a demon and lived for over 4 centuries. During his battle against the Demon Slayers, Kokushibo had the ability to access the transparent world, allowing him to accurately predict their movements. The transparent world also gave him the ability to determine muichiro, sanemi, and Gyomei's strength. But not only that, he took the transparent world to another level, as he was able to identify Muichiro as his descendant and immediately find out that Genya consumed demons to gain strength. The next character with the Demon Slayer mark is Tanjiro's father, Tanjuro Kamado. After Yoriichi, Tanjiro is the only known character who was born with the mark. However, he never developed it to its full power. This is probably because he had never heard about the mark and thought that the scar on his forehead is just a normal birthmark. Although it's not confirmed, but Tanjiro looked older than 25 when he died, so it's possible that he was also able to defy the mark's curse because he was born with it like Yoriichi. And while he was capable of using the sun breathing, he never actually joined the Demon Slayer Corps. This means that Tanjiro is the only person who manifested the mark without actually being a Demon Slayer himself. He was able to access the transparent world during a fight against a giant bear and killed the bear with a single axe instantly. It's a shame that this is all we know about Tanjiro, and I'd really love to see a special spin-off chapter about him. Next up is our protagonist, Tanjiro Kamado. Unlike his father and Yoriichi, Tanjiro wasn't born with the mark, and the scar on his forehead that we see early in the series is actually just a burn mark that he got when he was a child. Later, he got his forehead injured during the final selection, and the burn mark changed into a red scar. However, it still wasn't a developed Demon Slayer mark. He actually awakened his Demon Slayer mark for the first time during his battle against the Upper Moon 6, Gyutaro. The mark granted him the boost in physical strength needed to behead the demon with the help of Tengen. Later in his battle against Hantengu's clones, Tanjiro activated the bright red blade for the first time after Nezuko lit his blade on fire using her blood demon art. The mark gave him an incredible speed, and he quickly slashed the clones with his red blade, which drastically slowed down their regeneration. It was also during the fight against Hantengu that Tanjiro was able to access the transparent world for the first time, allowing him to find Hantengu's main body in the heart of one of his clones. However, he couldn't fully use the transparent world until he encountered Akaza inside the Infinity Castle. After activating this state, Tanjiro surpassed Akaza's speed and was able to defeat him instantly. Later in the final battle against Muzan, Tanjiro used the transparent world to find out how to use the 13th form of sun breathing by perceiving Muzan's anatomy. Right after that, he dyed his blade red all by himself without Nezuko's help and connected the first 12 forms of sun breathing to unlock the 13th form. Later in the battle, Tanjiro pins the Demon King against a wall to prevent him from escaping the sun and manages to dye his blade red one final time with the help of Giyu Tomioka. Tanjiro is the first Demon Slayer who awakened the mark in the modern era, and as a result, he spread it to other Demon Slayers around him. The fifth known character with the Demon Slayer mark is the Mist Hashira, Muichiro Tokito. He was able to awaken it when he fought against Gyoko in the Swordsmith Village. Before unlocking the mark, Muichiro was struggling against the Upper Moon Demon. However, after unlocking it, he speed blitzed Gyoko in his final evolved form. In the battle of Demon Slayers against Kokushibo, Muichiro awakened the mark again and gained the ability to see the transparent world. This allowed him to stab Kokushibo with his blade, keeping him in place and creating an opportunity for his allies to attack him. He then dyed his blade red by gripping it with all his power and hampered Kokushibo's regeneration, which played an important role in his defeat. Another Demon Slayer who also managed to awaken her mark mark in the swordsmith village is Mitsuri Kanroji. It happened when she fought against one of Hantengu's clones, Zohakuten. After manifesting her mark, Mitsuri's power and speed drastically increased to the point where she was able to stand on equal grounds against the demon. Unfortunately, this was the only time we saw the love Hashira awakening her mark, and we never got to see her activate the red nichirin blade or the transparent world. Our next marked demon slayer is the water Hashira, Giyu Tomioka. Giyu managed to manifest the mark during his battle against Akaza. The mark granted him a significant increase in his physical abilities, and he was able to engage in a long battle against the upper ranks. Later in the battle against Muzan, Giyu got his blade red after Sanemi clashed his blade into it. However, unfortunately, he never got to use the red blade against the Demon King since Muzan injured him severely, but he did help Tanjiro dye his blade red and kept Muzan in place until dawn, like I mentioned earlier. Next up is yet another character who managed to cheat the mark's curse, Gyomei Himejima. Gyomei is actually a very rare case, as he awakened his Demon Slayer mark after the age of 25. He managed to manifest it for the first time during the battle against Kokushibo at the age of 27. Kokushibo believed that Gyomei would die within a few hours after activating the mark because of his rare case, and he did actually die after a few hours, but it's not clear if his death was because of the mark's curse or his injuries from the final battle against Muzan. After activating the mark, Gyomei was able to access the transparent world and see through Kokushibo's body despite being blind, which is insane because some of the other marked Hashira couldn't do it. He also managed to dye his flail red thanks to Sanemi clashing his blade into it, which allowed them to destroy Kokushibo's head. He managed to do it again in the final battle against the Demon King by clashing his flail and axe together, and he used his red flail to destroy the left side of Muzan's chest, which slowed down his regeneration for a few seconds. Then he used the transparent world to see Muzan's organs and instructed Obanai to do it as well. The next marked demon slayer is the Wind Hashira, Sanemi Shinazugawa. Sanemi also awakened his mark in the battle against Kokushibo, which drastically increased his physical abilities despite being grievously injured. And like I just mentioned, he managed to dye his blade red twice by clashing his blade into Gyomei's and Giyu's weapons, and he used it to decapitate Kokushibo with the stone Hashira. However, much like Giyu, he wasn't able to use the red blade against Muzan because of his severe injuries. The last demon slayer to awaken the mark is Obanai Iguro, who was able to do it in the final battle against Muzan. As soon as he activated the mark, he put all of his strength into gripping his blade and managed to dye it red after remembering how Muichiro had done it. In fact, he gripped his blade so hard that he almost collapsed due to the lack of oxygen. With his red blade, Obanai was able to do some serious damage to Muzan. He cut off both of his arms multiple times and stabbed him through his neck, which delayed his regeneration for a few seconds. He also managed to access the transparent world to see through Muzan's body after Gyomei instructed him to do it. However, he wasn't able to do much with it since he only saw his organs for a split second. And that's all there is to know about the Demon Slayer mark. Let me know in the comments which marked character you think had the biggest impact on the story. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more Demon Slayer content. Click here to see the tragic backstories of all the 9 Hashira.